Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be another book haul. Now, I just did one of these a couple weeks ago, but as you can probably tell by the title or maybe the thumbnail of this video, I didn't know these were actually going to make it to my house. I ordered all of these books online and they were close to arriving when all of a sudden they got shipped to somewhere really far away where they didn't move for like 2 weeks. So I was thinking they definitely had to be lost because a couple months before this order, I made another order that ended up getting lost in the mail and I was seeing like a similar pattern. But I decided to wait this one out because I knew with everything that was going on, things have been taking a little longer to get shipped and like arrive to places. And thankfully that did end up paying off. They just came in like this past week. So with that, we have 13 books here to talk about and let's get going. So we are going to be going in alphabetical order here, and the first book is Beware the Night by Jessika Fleck. So this follows an island of citizens that worship the sun. The sun protects them from the night, who are people that kidnap other people from their beds, and the victims are then never seen again. When our main character's grandfather is offered as a next sacrifice in order to stay in the sun's favor, she has to figure out if all the stories she's been told over the years are true or if they're lying to her. The thing I'm really interested in here is like the sun and the night dynamics, and that's pretty much it. That's all it took. Yeah, there's really not much to say here, which is a great book to start this video off with. But I'm interested in the world and the world building, and that's all I'm really looking for in here. As long as that's done well and that's interesting to me while I'm reading, we should be okay. So next we have Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. So this is a novella that follows our main character as she is accepted to the most prestigious university in the galaxy. However, in order to attend, she has to leave her place in her family and go to somewhere where they don't respect her customs. Her journey to the university lands her in the middle of a war between the university and the alien race that they wronged. In order to survive the war, our main character has to use the gifts of her people and the knowledge that she gains through the university, but she has to get to the university first. So first, I do have a little story to go along with this book. I had no idea this was a novella, and when it came in, I was very surprised. In my head, I was just picturing like this big 500-page adult fantasy. And the size itself does make me a little concerned about the pacing, but this book has won quite a few awards, so I'm still not too concerned. And I'm also really looking forward to the sci-fi elements in this. They all sound really imaginative and interesting. And we also have a space war in here, so that should be pretty fun. And then there's also other books that are going to be in this series or that have already come out. This book came out in 2015. I'm sure there are other books in this series that are already out. So that does bring up a positive aspect in regard to this book being so short, because it does mean I could probably move through the series a little faster and then also probably finish the series too. And I also do want to read more adult fantasy and sci-fi, which that will come into play later on in this video too. Next we have Fallen Kingdoms by Rhodes. So this follows 3 kingdoms where magic has been forgotten and a peace has taken over after they fought for it. However, despite this peace, there is an unrest below the surface. As the rulers grapple for power, we follow a princess, a rebel, a sorceress, and a hare as their fates are all intertwined with one another. And then they begin to experience betrayals, alliances, murders, and love. So I heard that this was like the YA Game of Thrones, which I read the first 2 books in the Game of Thrones series, so I already know I enjoy that. Now I do have concerns about this being maybe too tame compared to that one, because it's going to be impossible not to compare the two. But when a series, and I have talked about this a little on my channel before, when a series continues on and just on and on, it makes me so curious to figure out like what's making the series go on for so long, what are they doing, how did they get to that point, and that's definitely what kicked in full force here. This is a series that I've wanted to get into for a while now, but I've always put it off because I was reading Game of Thrones, and I don't want to compare the two directly like that by reading them at the same time. Like, they're already going to get compared enough. But since Game of Thrones is just massive, and I had other books I was trying to read and wanting to read, but it was just really getting in the way, and then my TBR was just really piling up, I decided to take a break from it until I feel comfortable enough with my TBR to go back to it, which has been really difficult because, like I said, I am really enjoying those. But I am hoping that maybe this series can help fill that void for me some. So next we have Gideon the Ninth by Muir. So this is an adult fantasy that follows our main character Gideon, who is ready to abandon her life of servitude and afterlife as a reanimated corpse. She's about to escape, however her childhood nemesis won't let her leave without a service. This also follows another character who is a bone witch extraordinaire and also the reverend daughter of the Ninth House. She is competing in the Emperor's deadly trial in order to become the immortal servant of resurrection. But necromancers cannot ascend without a swordswoman, so without Gideon, then the Ninth House will fall. So this was the other adult fantasy I was referring to. I want to read this book for like a fall read, since this book book is supposed to be pretty dark and we're dealing with like skeletons and necromancers, and you can pretty much tell by the cover. Not only all of that, but just by reading the summary, I can tell that it's probably going to be pretty fun. This does seem to be gathering very good reviews, so my hopes are very high for it, and I am just very excited to read this in the upcoming months. I meant to say this at the beginning of the plot, but this is also own voices. So next we have I Want to Be Where You Are by Kristina Forrest. This follows our main character Chloe, whose mother forbids her from attending the dance academy of her dreams. So to combat that, she wants to sneak out and travel 200 miles to the audition in secret. However, her annoying neighbor wants to tag along, and if she doesn't let him, then he is going to tell her mother all about her plan. And this just basically follows her journey to achieve her ballet dreams. So this just sounds adorable and fun, like I can't even talk about it without smiling. I do love road trip stories, but I don't think I've actually found one in a book yet that I'm too obsessed with, so I'm really hoping this is going to be that book for me. I also haven't read too many books that have dancers in them, so that should be interesting and different for me to read about as well. I'm also hoping for a cute romance, which I know is a weird thing to hope for because that almost never happens for me. It's probably not a good sign that I'm reading for the romance in this book, because then I'm going to be looking at it with like a magnifying glass, which is already going to put it at a disadvantage. Hopefully that won't be a factor here, because so far this book just makes me way too happy for that to happen. So next we have Listen to Your Heart by Casey West. This follows our main character who doesn't enjoy talking to people and would rather spend her time just lounging in solitude at the lake. However, this all changes when her best friend invites her to join the high school's podcast, where she is chosen as a host and finds out that she's surprisingly good at it. One day this guy comes in asking for relationship advice about his crush, and our main character is convinced that it's about her best friend. However, this all becomes complicated when she develops feelings for this guy herself, and then she finds out that giving advice may be easy, but asking for it and following her own advice is much harder. So the first time that I made this order, it was like the beginning to the middle of summer, so I wanted a summer read, and this cover just screams summer to me. The cover was a huge part of this for me, mostly because I wish I was where she was right now. Romance in here, unlike the last book, this one does actually make me nervous because I don't really like it when friends cross each other over a love interest, which I'm not saying happens in here, like I have no idea, but that's just where my mind went first. But maybe that won't happen and I'll end up having a good time. Anything's really possible when I read contemporaries. I never truly know. So next we have Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali. So this follows our main character, who is the only Muslim in her class, after she gets suspended for confronting her teacher after her teacher keeps reminding the class of how bad Muslims are. She is just ready to start an early spring break, but fueled by the guilt of getting her activist friends investigated by the school, she decides she wants to become a new version of herself. And then this also follows our other main character, who was just diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and has stopped going to class in favor of keeping the memory of his late mother alive to his little sister. Then while doing all of this, he is also keeping his diagnosis a secret from his grieving father. Both of these characters are used to playing roles for others and keeping their true thoughts to themselves, but this all changes when they meet one another. So this is a contemporary that I am actually really confident in. I know this one is like gathered some hype around it and it's doing really well for itself. So not only does that put this book at a higher chance for me to give it a 5-star, but it also puts it at an advantage because I'll probably end up reading it sooner, but then it puts it at a disadvantage because it means if I don't end up enjoying it, it's gonna crash hard. The way I typically 3-star contemporaries, I do like to have some hyped and well-loved books thrown in just to offset the others. And since I recently had a contemporary month, I am running a little short on those, which is why this is here. And just in general, that's also the reason why there are a lot of contemporaries in this haul. And speaking of books that are doing well, we have Sleigh by Brittney Morris. So this follows our main character Kiara, who is an honors student and a math tutor and is also one of the only black kids at the academy she attends. And while she's at home, she joins thousands of black gamers as they join a secret role-playing card game known as Sleigh. Nobody knows that Kiara is actually the creator of this game. When a teen is murdered over a dispute from the game, Sleigh begins to get labeled as a racist, exclusionist, and violent hub. So not only does Kiara have to keep preserving her identity, but she also has to try to save the only world where she feels like she can be herself. So this is a book that I am very excited for. I love things that are based on video games, well in this case card role-playing games. And this book just kept getting better and better and better as I kept reading the synopsis. At the beginning of this video I mentioned an order that actually did get lost in the mail. That was a big contemporary order that was based around this book. This is the one that started that. So I am just very excited to be holding this book in my hands. It was a process, but it got here eventually. So next we have Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton. This follows a village who made a deal with the devil to protect them from the slaughtered moon. Every time the moon rises, the villagers must sacrifice a young man in the devil's forest. However, this year the moon rose early. So this follows 3 different characters, a witch, a saint, and an outcast when the devil begins to demand a sacrifice. So once again, just like Gideon the Ninth, I want this for like a Halloween and fall read. There's a lot of books in this haul about sacrifices. One of them has to be good then, right? right? Like if I read enough of them, one of them is bound to work. So hopefully this book comes through for me in that regard. I just hit myself in the chin. I am very excited about this next one, and that is The Shadow Between Us by Tricia Levensellar. So this follows our main character who is often overlooked. However, she does have a plan to change things. First, she wants to woo and marry the Shadow King, and then she wants to kill him and take the throne for herself. However, when there are other attempts on the king's life made, she finds herself protecting him so he can stay alive long enough to marry her. But then at the same time, she is also battling other feelings that she may have for him as well. So this book gets recommended to me all the time on Goodreads. Like every book that I read, every book that I buy, this book is just right there in the recommended section. I read Warrior of the Wild by this author last year. It was not my favorite thing in the world, but I did end up giving it 4 stars. But this one I feel like has a very high chance for that 5. Like all those times this book was recommended to me, I can't say I disagree. The main character just sounds like somebody I am going to obsess over. Like she sounds like the exact type of character that I just gel with. I also want a lot of morally gray characters here, and once again I want a good romance. So much of this book just sounds absolutely perfect for me, and everything just sounds like something I would be really into. I also own that pirate book from this author. I'll put the title up on the screen, I just can't remember it right now. But what I'm getting at here is that this book just definitely jumped that in my TBR. So next we have The Upside of Falling by Alex Light. So this follows our main character Becca, who has not believed in love for many years, but when her best friend makes fun of her for not having a boyfriend, she pretends that she is seeing somebody in secret. This also follows the captain of the football team, who is more focused on his future than his love life. However, when he overhears Becca's lie, he pretends to be her mystery boyfriend to get people off of his back about not having a love life. Pretending to be a couple proves to be pretty difficult, but it gets even worse when Becca's life gets absolutely turned upside down. However, this does make these two discover that they have more in common than they actually thought. So I was just in the right mood for a contemporary when I found out about this book, so I just went with my gut and bought it. I own a lot of books that feel like this one, and the goal for all of them is just for them to be a nice summer contemporary. What I'm mostly looking for, best case scenarios, that I get something cute that gives me some feels. This could just be another one of those 3-star books, but as long as I like the characters and nobody annoys me, I should get along just fine with this. Like I said, I'm not looking for a lot here. My expectations for this are pretty low, knowing my reading taste, but those are also the moments where books end up blowing me away, so I guess we'll see. So next I have Traitor to the Throne by Alwyn Hamilton. And that back there is the sequel to Rebel of the Sands. This book is set in a world that is very unforgiving towards its humans, especially if they are poor, orphaned, or female. Our main character falls into all 3 of these categories and wants to get out of her town before she ends up dead or married. She then meets this guy, and then she sees him as the perfect escape route. So I actually have started Rebel of the Sands, and before my reading slump really took effect this month, that was one of the only books that was like keeping my attention. It's just been a really quick and easy read, and I do like the characters, and I just really appreciate it overall so far, so I just went ahead and picked up the sequel. I actually have no idea where this series is going, but the title sounds fun. But this is a series that I definitely do think I want to continue on with. I'm just really curious to see where it's going. So the last book in this haul is Watch Us Rise by Renee Watson. So this book follows main characters Jasmine and Chelsea when they form a women's rights club at their New York City high school. They post everything online and they soon go viral, which starts to gather them some trolls. However, when things escalate, the school ends up shutting down the club, and Jasmine and Chelsea will do anything to make sure not only their own voices, but also just all the voices of all young women are heard. So I am just looking forward to a lot of things from this book. First and foremost, just friendships. Friendships are just one of my favorite things to read about, and I have a good feeling that this book is going to have some strong ones. I also do like when books explore feminist topics as well, so I do have really high hopes for this one. It just seems like it's going to hit every mark for me, and I am very excited that I finally have my hands on this. Okay, so that is the end of the haul. I am very excited that these books are finally here. There's just a lot of books in this haul that I feel like have so much 5-star potential, and I am very happy with these right now, but we'll see how that changes in the future. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!